Well, good day everyone, it's Grizz, we're back in the garage. It's time to get on with some more work on the Hayabusa. Lots of dirty, grimy cups of tea. No, not dirty, grimy cups of tea. Dirty, grimy Hayabusa. I want to strip down the back end today. I've already taken a few bits and pieces off. Let me show you what I've done so far. Let's have a look. Right, so the front end is back on. Really happy with that. Yeah, happy to get the front end back on, but now I've got it jacked up. It's on some axle stands on the back. It's time to remove this offending item. The swing arm and the shock is just absolutely disgusting, but I need to strip that. Oh bugger, sorry, hold on a minute. Oh sugar, let me move those out of the way. I don't know how those got there. Sorry, that's quite embarrassing. Oh. So anyway, basically I need to strip down all this, get the frame off, get the mudguard off, and get it down to the shock absorber and swing arm, and get it all off. Basically, I've started doing a little bit here, taking off the ECU and taking off the footrests. Yeah, here they. Oh, flipping heck! Sorry. I swear to God, I don't know how those got there, and I've not been drinking, promise you. Yeah, footrests are off, ECU, took the exhaust off and a little bit of the wiring. But anyway, yeah, I was really tempted just to go at it yesterday, but I stopped and continued with some editing instead. Anyway, enough talking. I'm going to set up the camera and we'll do some kind of fast forwardy, amazing kind of strip down video clip for you. Here we go. Right, so I got most of the wiring off of this. Probably could have done that before I actually dropped the subframe down, but anyway, I need to get the alarm out here and there's not enough room, so I need to take the plastic off the bottom of this rear frame, subframe, so I can get the alarm out. The other problem is on the other side. Let me show you. Right, the other problem is I've got the rear brake reservoir, which only has a tiny little hole for it to fit through on the actual mudguard. So that means I need to take off the rear brake basically and bleed out the system and take the hose out. Yeah, take the hose out of here or take the hose off so I can pull out the reservoir, which is just a bit of a headache. So what I'm going to do, I was going to do it anyway, is strip down this, and the rear brake caliper needs a good going over as well. Someone's completely and utterly overloaded it with copper grease, so I want to clean that up, tidy it up. I've got another rear master cylinder which is already on the new rear sets to go on, so time to bleed out the system and strip it down. I'm going to put that back in, stop any scratching on the exhaust. I've got a nice little bleed kit. This was kind of cheap, I bought off of Amazon ages ago, but it's great. It's like a pressurized system, so it pulls all the fluid out. So I should use that, getting the fluid out of the rear braking system, then I can start stripping all that down. Then I can move on to getting the mudguard out of the rear subframe, so then I can get the wires off, and then we can get down to the swing arm and the shock. On we go. Right, here's the state of the brake pads. I think they've been on quite new. They've not been on long, but they're not worn down the middle of the pad, because basically the state of the brake disc. Let me show you. Hold on a sec. Yeah, so this brake disc is such a mess. It's so unevenly worn that the brake pads aren't even contacting. Someone at some point has really not looked after this very well, neglected it. I've got a new brake disc to go on. These aren't bad. There's a lot of meat left on them. It would be a shame to throw those away, so I'll consider what to do with those. I'll hold on to those for the meantime. So now I'm going to bleed it out from the bleeding nipple. Right, let's do it. Right, so here you go. Here is the vacuum system. Bought it cheap on Amazon, but it doesn't do a half bad job. It's a little bit, it falls apart a little bit, but if you get it going, it's good. So put the tube on the bleed nipple and then pump the handle so it creates a vacuum. Yeah, and then when I undo the bleed nipple, it pulls the fluid through the system and drains into this cup. Right, let's get on with it. Right guys, I'm just looking at, I've got the obviously the seat frame off. I'm just looking at the swing arm and looking at also the state of this chain. I was thinking about reusing the chain and the sprockets, but for some reason someone's fitted on 2 rivet links and an old link in between the 2. Now that could cause all kinds of problems with wear, tightness in the chain. It's definitely an old link put together with two new rivet links, which is a bit weird. So for my peace of mind and to keep things safer for the bike, is a powerful bike, I'm going to replace the chain and sprocket. So I'm going to get the angle grinder on it and get this chain off. Let's do it. Right, sorry, I'm not including everything in this video because it's going to be a real long one, but I just used my really old, dilapidated chain removal tool. This one just simply clamps down on the chain and then you turn this part in so it pushes out a pin, or pushes the pin into the top of the chain link, which I grinded down, and basically pushes the link out so then you can take the chain off. Let me show you the chain. So here it is. Here is one rivet link someone's used, and there was another one there, sorry, and in between it is this old link. Yeah, so new chain and sprockets going on. I'm going to take the opposite side footrest off. Right, so look, I've raced on ahead a bit, taken the chain off, and I've loosened off these links. Now I just need to take the rest of the link off, and then we can start taking the swing arm off. Let's get this link out somehow. It's caught on the chain guard. Right, so time to get out the swing arm spindle. Basically, this is the tool that you need to undo the locking nut on the outside. It's called a castle nut socket, and these little notches fit in the holes on the nut, and then you undo it. I already undid it previously. That wasn't a very smooth job, was it? But basically, hold it nice and square, and it undoes the locking nut. Take that one off, and then you also loosen off the opposite side. So this side we've also got another locking nut. I've got a 36mm socket. Loosen that one off. I'll take it right off because we're going to undo it from the opposite side. There's a washer there as well. Right, that washer would drop off when we undo it from the other side. Let's undo it now from the other side. Right, so now we're using one of these types of, I don't know what you would call this, but I use it on the front wheel. But that sits inside the spindle. Put a socket on that, and then we can start turning out the spindle. And thankfully, it's turning out quite smoothly. I'm going to get a little bit of lubricant on there, a bit dry. Right, that's the spacer falling off the opposite side. There it goes. That's it, dropped now off the thread. Now we can pull the spindle out, but I need to hold on to the swing arm while I'm doing that. Spindle out. And out should come the swing arm. He's out-ish. I just got to take out that bolt as well. Right, that is the swing arm out. It took a fair old effort. Let's have a look at the state of things and what condition everything is in. Right, so here it is. Here is the mess. It needs cleaning up. As with everything on this bike, it all just needs flipping cleaning up. It's all dirty, corroded, rusting, and a flipping mess. So big cleanup job to be done in there. Let's have a look at the swing arm. I've got it all out, laid it all out, gonna make my workbench dirty. I'll have to do another cleanup operation. Swing arm. Swing arm is heavily corroded. It's like bubbled. It's like super heavy corroded, and basically this camera doesn't show it very well. But everything on this bike is just, can you see that? The bearings, I mean, the inside looks alright, but the outside looks a bit rusty. I just tried to take off this mud guard and everything is rusted in place. I could clean it up. This camera isn't showing it, but someone's gone all over this with a paintbrush and it's just bubbled everywhere. It's going to take a lot of cleaning up. I could clean it up. I could paint it and clean it up, but I would also like to be doing things like the bearings. Now, total cost of kind of repairing it or servicing it and then putting it back in use again, and the time that I'm going to put into it and the effort. Well, I've just had a look on eBay and I have found a replacement off a 2015 model in, I would say, A1 condition. Looks really good condition, for £60, including postage. So that bad boy is on its way to me. I'll clean this one up a bit and I'll sell it. So that is just, I would just offset that against the cost of whatever I get the new one. Maybe if I sell this one for £30 and I've paid £30 for the replacement, and I won't even be able to buy new bearings for that. So for me, that makes a lot of sense. The rear shock is pretty shocking. It's just corroded, covered in crud and grease and grime. It probably could be cleaned up to a degree and probably wouldn't be too bad, but again, as you know, I bought a replacement previously. This one here is in like A1 condition, and I think that one was that £60 all in, and that's like new, that one, again off quite a newer model. So all newish kind of back end going on in its place basically. Yes, I was using a hammer to hammer out these, or hammer off the suspension linkages. I've got brand new replacement ones of those. I've actually got some on this shock absorber, but I've got some new links which are going to raise the back end up. So yeah, that basically, there's no damage to it. It was kind of probably sounded worse than it was. The rectifier is in really good condition, looks quite new, so I'm happy with that, but I will clean up bits and pieces before it goes back on. The swing arm spindle is in good condition, that's good to see. I can clean up all the bits and pieces. The rear wheel spindle, as you saw in a previous video, was pretty bad. But I'm going to see if I can clean this up. If I need to buy a replacement, I will, but I think that is still serviceable. It's not too bad in the middle here. These outer edges, there's a bit more corrosion. So I'll have a go at cleaning it up and go from there. So there we go. Back end, basically, I'm going to be doing new chain and sprockets, new shock absorber, a replacement shock absorber, and a replacement swing arm. Some of you probably think that's a bit excessive, but for me, I think that's kind of cool. The amount of work. I won't be happy with this finish. It's real deep, heavy seated corrosion, and I don't know how well this actually shows up on the camera. But yeah, I'm going to be happy with it, basically, the finish of it. I'm going to be happier with it. And also those bearings. Forget the condition of the actual swing arm. Yeah, it's gonna going to work better, isn't it? Someone's clearly had the chain incorrectly adjusted at some point as well, because it's rubbed on the swing arm. Also, as a side note, I have just tried to get the adjusters to work on the suspension on the rear shock, on the top and bottom of the shock there, and they are completely frozen. As for this top adjuster, I don't know. Anyway, it's being replaced. I'm just trying to justify it to you guys. Right, so that's enough for today. Like I said, don't know what I'm going to bring to you on the next video, but there are loads of little jobs to be done. Thanks for watching. Sorry it was quite long. Catch you on the next one. Stay safe, everyone. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.